So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, as we're back again with another preview for Villa versus Forest this Sunday. Seems to be all Sunday games, Paddy, regardless of whether we're out in Europa Conference League or not. It just seems to be Sunday games, and I don't know. I'm beginning to like it. Beginning to like Sunday games, albeit I am a traditionalist for 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
The only time I don't like it is when I'm going. I prefer to be going on a Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock and not having to worry about work the next day and that kind of stuff. But look, it's a sign that we're doing well. If even when we're not in Europe, they want to put us on the telly. So we'll take the good with the bad. We've had many years of bad. So if playing in Europe means we play regularly on a Sunday, we'll just have to suck it up for now and hopefully push into the Champions League and play Tuesday, Wednesday, and we can have Saturdays again.
Exactly, yeah, that makes sense to me, and I think everybody who's listening to the podcast would be all for that for sure. It's strange, Paddy, doing previews of shows. I'm beginning to find myself looking more at what the opposition teams are likely to do to try and, I suppose, look and see what their trends are, I suppose, and how they're probably likely to have to change with regards to when they play us, as opposed to how we used to look at it, I suppose, how specifically when Dean Smith was over the team, and when Stephen Gerrard was over the team and stuff like that, we would look at maybe how are we going to break this team down, or what are we going to do here? And I think, look, it's not arrogance. And before anybody starts, because no matter what we do, Paddy, I inundated again with DMs, emails, whatever, saying that we were way too arrogant against Luton. We actually weren't. We spent easily 5 minutes talking about Rob Edwards and how he sets up his team tactically, and that Luton, have a good manager and all this kind of crap. But we've to call it as we see it as well. At the same time, Villa are in a massive run of form, and we can't always hide away from the fact that Villa are in a run of form. Yeah, we get it wrong sometimes, and we'll call it where we think Villa are going to win. We did it against Legia Warsaw. We were absolutely wrong on that one. And we will be wrong again, and we might even be wrong again on Sunday. But the reality of the situation is, at the moment, that Villa are absolutely humming, and Forest are kind of, they're thereabouts, for I suppose all the money they've spent and everything like that. So it's a really interesting one. Put it this way, it's really interesting to get the fine balance. And I'll be honest, Paddy, and before we start talking about the game, is I'm finding it a lot easier to podcast about Aston Villa at the moment. And the reason I'm finding it an awful lot easier is because it's a lot more fun because we're winning. But at the same time, I have to put in a lot more work into a podcast because I can't sit here and talk about what I know. And you have to look at what you don't know from the other teams as well. So it's interesting from that point of view. And I just wanted to say, I said I'd start off the podcast with that because it's a different dynamic. It's a different kind of preparation point, I think, for the podcast. And it's nice and it's more interesting, I think.
Yeah, what was I don't know whether you were a CSI fan, but Gil Grissom used to say, it's always good to know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and let's face it, we're just two lads here sitting on two computers in Ireland, following the hopes and dreams of everybody that's coming to listen or watch or interact with us. And we can only call it like we think it is. And it's funny you should mention that people have messaged saying that we were overconfident against Luton because you did the pre-match on your own, and I was in Tolka Park, and a friend of mine sent me a WhatsApp message going, "Does Neil love Luton or something? Like he's really bigging them up here."
You don't.
And you would only just told me the night before you hate Luton, so I was going, "What are you on about?"
So yeah, for that one, it's not that I hate Luton. It's that I just wasn't. I wasn't a fan of the romantic. Like, fine, great, they're up, and there's like I don't care that they're up. But like when Luton were playing Coventry, I wanted Coventry to win, and we said it at the time. Said I want Coventry to win. It's a bit more closer to home. It's another team that has a gripe against us, and I don't have any affinity to Luton. I don't care about having to go through a house to get into their stadium. I couldn't care less about that, you know, and that's probably why at that stage. So I didn't get the novelty of Luton, and that's not to say that I'm not happy for their fans and for the club, for any club that makes a step up to the Premier League that hasn't been there previously. And that's not arrogance, that's just personal preference.
More than, and don't get me wrong, I'm dug into Welcome to Wrexham at the moment, and I love a story of a team, you know, rising from the flames, and I love the fact that we're playing Nottingham Forest at the weekend, a 2-time European Cup winner, back in the big time, held their own last year. Probably a little bit lower than they should be this year. Kind of looking at where we were at that stage, and it's kind of like looking in the mirror, and here we are, 5th place in the league, looking down at 5th from bottom, Nottingham Forest, and 2 teams absolutely steeped in history in football, and it's one of my favourite fixtures. And as luck would have it, I was supposed to go last year and I couldn't due to a family event, and then when the fixtures come out, I realised I have a wedding this weekend, a family wedding, so I couldn't go to this one either. But I had to get back to a game between Forest and Villa at the City Ground, because it's one of my favourite grounds to go and watch football. They're really lovely people at Forest, very knowledgeable football people. I've always enjoyed going there. So on one hand, yeah, I'm okay with Luton. They're probably not prepared stadium-wise to be in the Premier League, but they got there on merit. They did a great job getting there throughout the last 10 years coming from. Yeah, and we could probably see that. I'm seeing in Welcome to Wrexham that, and I'm totally dug into it, and I really want them to do well, because it's an absolute love story to look at. So, but on the other hand, you've got these 2 amazing historical clubs playing each other on Sunday, and that has its own romance as well, as opposed to a Chelsea or a Man City that just bought trophies over the last 20 years. So we're absolutely enjoying the road that we're on. I'm sure Forest are too, and with the right investment, I'm sure they will be a well-established Premier League club for many years to come, hopefully.
Yeah, I've got new sound effects actually. Let's just see. But I won't use them there, because we'll find the right time to start using the sound effects. But I agree with you with regards to that, Paddy. And you mentioned about Wrexham. I'm certainly shouting for Wrexham, because Anthony Ford on the Wrexham team is he's from the town I grew up in. So absolutely shouting for Wrexham, and they couldn't get high enough for me. As long as they're below Villa, though, that's okay. Anyway, getting back onto the Forest side of things. Sorry, actually, I just wanted to pop out just 2 things flashed across the screen there. Colin Smith, thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate that. Jesus Christ, thank you. Colin says, I look forward to our podcast, lads, up the Villa, hopefully 3 points on Sunday. And yeah, absolutely. I think 3 points on Sunday would be a great shot in the arm for Villa, even though we're on a great run at the moment, you know, solidifying our top 5 position before the international break. Am I right in saying we have Fulham and then it's the international break, Paddy? Am I right in saying that? I think I am. And like we'll talk about it in a moment, but Newcastle's fixture this week and our fixture this week, if Newcastle lose and we win, we could be 8 points ahead of Newcastle, you know, which is a decent buffer zone going into Fulham, and then obviously moving on then towards the international break, which I think we're going to need, because December ain't the easiest of months, I think, for Aston Villa. And also Michael Huggins, thank you so much, Michael, really appreciate that. Hello all, he says, Neil and Paddy, we'll have to catch up later, but I've been telling everybody all week that we should adapt the song My Way by Limp Bizkit, as the words are perfect for us. F Big 6, we're doing it our way. Okay, I think so too. I've no problem. I love Limp Bizkit. I'll try and adapt any Limp Bizkit song for you, Michael. Absolutely, but I love that one. I really do.
I love it. I just reiterate, thanks to the guys. It's donations like that keep the podcast going and pay all the bills that are associated with putting a podcast on air. And thanks very much to everybody who does, and whether you can afford it or not, either way, we appreciate everybody being there. But thanks so much to the guys. That's really generous donation, and that's all I can say, really. I'm blown away that somebody would make a donation like that, and it always amazes me. So thanks so much. Very, very grateful.
Absolutely, and I echo those as well. And Thomas Farrell says, big Irish community in Luton, not happy with your comments, Neil. Lol. And a bigger Irish community in Birmingham, I think, are happy with I think. But and Matt Hanlon, thank you so much for this. There's a full moon out tonight. This is fantastic, Matt Hanlon. You're always, as I say, you're the man, Matt. I've said it before. You're like the executive producer of this podcast nearly at this stage. He says points for podcasters after the fact, and thanks to both. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Matt.
For that, Matt. But I suppose with regards to this game that we have coming up, Paddy, I've been thinking about this game. I was going to say I've been thinking about it for a while, but realistically, I've been thinking about it since we beat Luton, and the fact that this is, the expectation. There's been so much spoken about Aston Villa. Unai Emery is apparently going to 7 different clubs. I wouldn't be surprised if both Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville's make a pledge to say, why doesn't he manage both Liverpool and United at the same time? The way that they're going at the moment, and it's one of these things. I think that I don't know what it is, Paddy, but like the toothpaste is out of the tube now at this stage. And this game specifically, I think, is going to be really interesting because previously I would have been nervous and we're going, there's a lot of chatter about Villa at the moment. Are we going to let it all run down our leg on Sunday? I just get a feeling that the mental strength of this team is really good and that we're not going to go in and throw out. Like we may lose the weekend, but we were not going to train a clanger of a game at the weekend in a game that we've earmarked. I think this team would look at and say, right, if we play to our game plan, we can come away with 3 points from the City ground. Do you get any feeling like that, Paddy, that maybe the chatter has just kind of come out of nowhere over the last couple of days or so?
Well, I think I said it on Twitter. I may have said it here. I believe that Sunday that we played West Ham and we were the only game on TV has suddenly escalated us in everybody's mindset, coupled with a great win at the weekend. And both today we learned that Unai Emery is nominated for Manager of the Month for October, which obviously he deserves. But today was the big announcement because it becomes a popularity contest after that, and anyone can fucking win it, like depending on who's managing what team. It should be Ange. It should be Ange or Unai Emery, but that's not a given. Depending on what other managers are in there, because it's not voted for the way it should be. The LMA should be voting for that like the old days or whoever it was, the managers themselves voting for it. And also Douglas Luiz getting nominated for Player of the Month. So all of these things are just escalating us in people's mind. We've got a tough job ahead now, playing down the fact that we've all known we've been on the cusp of something special since this time last year when we beat Man United in the first game under Unai Emery. We said this guy's mentality is to change us from what that we were to beat Man United at home for the first time in nearly 30 years. So here we are a year later with the equivalent amount of points as Arsenal, who finished second in the league. If we can keep that up, the amount of points we've picked up in the 12 months is the equivalent of finishing second and third most years of the Premier League when it became 20 teams. So there's no reason why we can't dream. Obviously, we've got a nice run of games, albeit a difficult one away from home this weekend, and a good crowd, as I said, a good raucous City ground, full of belief, full of optimism, and I fully expect them to get behind the team. But we're up there now. We're being talked about as Champions League contenders. Be that if I have a feeling this 5th place is going to be like the 11th place we had last year, where we just couldn't get out of it, and we kept winning matches and we couldn't get out of 11th place no matter what we did. So look, we're just happy to be there and stay in touch and distance, and we know we're looking over the horizon at Man City, Arsenal, Manchester United, if that's even worth worrying about for now. But all of these teams.
Well, Unai Emery could be managing them come Boxing Day, Paddy. Listen, have you listened to any radio station in the world
The one thing I will say to you, if Jacob Tanswell or John Townley are listening today, or anybody else who may possibly, on the off chance that Tom Ross is listening to this today, go to Bodymore Heath tomorrow and ask that bloody question out straight. Somebody do it. Somebody ask the question that us fans want to hear. Have you any intention of leaving this project, Mr. Emery? And see what answer comes back. And let's watch our esteemed leader give the two fingers to the so-called big club, because that's what I'd like to see happen tomorrow. But no, somebody will probably ask some stupid question about Leon Bailey's stocks being lower down than usual, or the grass being cut too tight, or something stupid which is irrelevant. But that's what I'd like to see asked at the press conference tomorrow, just to nail this in the bud and move on and just enjoy this absolute roller coaster that we're on. And it's just a joy to behold when everybody has experienced some kind of shit show in their life, be it cost of living crisis, a little bit of a downturn, a lot of stuff going on in the UK, a lot of wars going on in the world. This is our release. We don't need absolute ball bags trying to get rid of our manager for us at this stage. So just fucking give everyone the two fingers and move on. That's the way it needs to be.
Yeah, I'm okay with that one, Paddy. I'm okay with that one for sure. But don't like Jacob and John will ask their questions and they'll be fine, as I say. But it's there's no way that Unai Emery is going to entertain that question for sure. I can tell you what his answer is. His answer is going to be next question, please. That's what it's going to be. So that's fine.
No, I don't believe that would be the answer. I don't believe he doesn't give me that kind of feels that he would dodge that question. He would put them back. Put someone back in the box.
I meant it would be, as you said. I've no interest in even Aston Villa. Next question, please. Like that kind of a thing. So I don't think he'd dodge that question. Oh, if he just said next question, please. Yeah, to clarify that, if he said next question, please. The next 24 hours are Manchester United are going to appoint Unai Emery in the next 24 hours. Look, United might not even get rid of Ten Hag. Like, as I said, I don't know why we're even talking about United now at the moment, but
we're talking about United because the world and his mother are linking Unai Emery with the Manchester United job, which, why he'd want to go to the absolute shit show of a club in the current state that they're in. Like, I don't know how anybody would take it.
Yeah. But it's look, as I say, back onto the Forest game here at the weekend. He's got more or less he's got a new name, or not a new name, an old new name to come back into the squad. It looks like my doppelganger Alex Moreno is fit again, Paddy, and he's ready to join the team, and he's back on the grass now. I don't think he's going to be in contention for the weekend. But nice to see him back. And for anybody who's watching, I'm not that vain to think I look exactly like Alex Moreno. It's a joke that happened about just under a year ago when he first signed. It was a joke, and we're keeping it going on. But
the ironic thing is you're bringing it up this week when he dressed up as somebody that looked more like you than he usually does. So that gave me a bit of a chuckle during the week.
Yeah, just like the horrible clown. Yeah, exactly. But he's back, and it's good to see him back because, we're, in fairness to Lucadini, he's been absolutely fantastic this season, arguably in our top 3 or 4 players this season so far, just from his output, I suppose, specifically in attack. He's really kind of marshaled that position. It's going to be difficult for Alex Moreno to get back in, but what it does allow us to do, I think, is it's going to allow us to play more of a wing-back situation, I think. If we need to, it's going to allow us to take Digne off, if we were in a wing-back situation, or even to play Moreno further forward in front of Digne while Jacob Ramsey is out. But it's all about options. It's all about options, I think, with Alex Moreno. And hopefully he's right and he's going to come back. But he always looks smiley and happy when he's on the field, kind of like a Bertrand Traore type as well. He's always smiling and looking for the positives out there. But so hopefully he's got his injury woes behind him.
Yeah, and he's a different kind of a player in attack. He's not the deep crossing Luca Dean. He's an end line pulling the ball back, Alex Moreno, and very effective in what he does. So I'm hoping we see him back at full tilt quickly, just to give us options, as you say. It would be nice to have options in the full back department because we're not rotating Luca Dean for obvious reasons. And I prefer to see Ezri Konsa playing it right back if he needs to rest Matty Cash. So in that department, it's always good to have, especially with the type of game that we play with the attacking fullbacks, that we can stand them down for games or take them off when the game is won. So it would be refreshing to have him back in there. And as you say, he very capably play on the left side of that, whatever system he chooses to play, be it the 4-2-2. Or the 4-2-3-1 or whatever way it lines up, you could effectively put him in there and play as a winger as well. So he has a lot to offer, and it's great to see him back. And look, if we got everybody back fit, it'll be like a whole load of new signings coming back in, and Jacob Ramsey's going to be exactly the same. And that's another question for the journalist tomorrow. How far off is Jacob Ramsey? Because we're not hearing too much.
I think he has said 2 weeks ago. I think he said that Jacob Ramsey, I think it was just before the Luton game, actually, because I did the Luton preview on my own. And I said, I hadn't listened to the presser. And I said, he hasn't mentioned anything about Jacob Ramsey recently. And then I went and I looked at the presser afterwards. I went, why didn't I watch it before I did the preview? Because he mentioned that likely after the international break, Ramsey will be back. Both of them, I think he said, will be back at that stage. So that would be great. There'll be some competition on our left side then, Paddy, with Zaniolo, Ramsey, Moreno, Dina, all down that left-hand side. You know, that's fantastic. You know, it really gives us a strength point there. And one of the things that Nottingham Forest do is Nottingham Forest's attack is very heavily weighted towards their right-hand side. So, you know, it's something that that we need to be strong on that wing. We need to be strong at the current weekend, albeit that Anthony Elanga is their the player that carries the ball the most for them, and he plays on the opposite side. He doesn't. He swaps between himself and Gibbs White. It's going to be interesting for them. They're going to be without Chris Wood. They're going to be without they're without Montiel as well. Their other signing, Callum Hudson-Odoi, is out. Divock Origi is out. Attacking options are thin on the ground for them at the weekend. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Awanini, their striker, I think he might have been carrying a knock in the last game as well against Liverpool. So, you know, is he going to be 100% fit? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what the story is there, because they are they're lacking in those attacking options, and they don't take that many shots on goal either, Paddy. Their shots on target number, if I'm not mistaken, comes in about 3 per game, just over 3 per game, which puts them like in the bottom quartile within the Premier League, considering we take 6 per game. You know, if we can limit their shots to under three, I would be confident that their shots on target, that is, I would be confident that we would at least score 1 goal at the weekend. And if we can limit them to under 3, we'd be desperately unlucky if both of their shots on target went in. But that's the game of football, and that's the way they play it.
Exactly. They only had 1 shot on target against Liverpool, albeit a different beast that they're playing against. And again, Liverpool at nearly 75% possession in that game. So they do play quite deep against the bigger clubs, which I presume we're going to be in that bracket when they come at the weekend. They will adopt the back 5, and a strong enough back 5 and hard to break down. It'll be like, as I said, against Luton last week. We're going to need to score early, or we could have a frustrating day like we did against Mostar. So it will be difficult.
I know you haven't asked the question yet, Paddy, and it isn't really my answer, but one of the players that I really love in their team, and it's not Ibrahim Sangare, even though I do like Ibrahim Sangare, but Nicolas Dominguez in their midfield is somebody we're going to have to look out for. Argentinian international, signed for them this summer. I was really surprised. I'm going to be honest with you. I was really surprised he signed with Forest, and that's not denigration to Forest. I was just really surprised that he left Bologna and went to the Premier League directly. I thought he would have been somebody who might have rocked up in Spain. I thought he might have been somebody who rocked up at like a Paris Saint-Germain or somebody like that, and under the radar kind of signing where people went, didn't think he'd go there. But the converse to that is, I didn't think he would have gone to Forest either. Really good player, somebody we're going to have to look out for. I think somebody I've always liked. I think I might have done a scouting series on him for Villa. If I didn't, I know I meant to do one on him maybe about 2 years ago when Bentancur was linked with Aston Villa. But I like the look at him, and the reason I bring that up is because he plays in that midfield and he links up really well. Sangare and Mangala do an awful lot of the donkey work, but Dominguez, Alanga, Gibbs White, they are part of their link trio that are there to try and get the ball forward and get them moving forward. And he's been one of their better players, along with their two their two centre halves have been playing really well, Forest, for them, even though they've been shipping goals. Not a lot, but albeit, but they have a propensity to concede. But between the two of them and Dominguez, I think they're probably been their three best players this season.
Yeah, and if we're going to answer my own question that I didn't ask yet, but the one person I would have from their squad in ours is injured, so like it'd be Montiel. I really like him. It would have been a perfect backup for Matt Cash or somebody to keep him on his toes and perhaps keep him out of the squad, but he chose Nottingham Forest. So it's for me, Sangari's a good player. Dominguez, I think there's a lot of talk around him, so he's definitely found his feet and hit the ground running. Gibbs White, what you're going to get. I didn't envisage that he was going to have the impact he had in Notts Forest last season, and in fairness to him, he proved me wrong. I'd rather have Alanga in there than Divock Origi, who's always had a great day against us. So I think we've been pretty lucky with the fact that they have so many injuries to key players. Hudson-Odoi would definitely probably be starting. Danilo might be thereabouts as well. So
Danilo
all of these
definitely be there. Yeah.
All of these are out, so it's good timing to be playing them, which is really unusual for us. And I'm loving the fact that we're getting all these teams when it seems to be good timing. And don't get me wrong, they could really frustrate us. They could do a number on us at the weekend, and by doing a number, I mean like shooting us down and really frustrating us for 90 minutes. So we'll just have to wait and see what way he lines up and how attacking he chooses to be. Does he choose that this is a game that he can go and attack and maybe cause an upset after such a poor show against Liverpool, only getting one shot on target? And as I said, 25 or 27% possession is pretty poor in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. Sai mentions here, he says that Aurier is a walk-in yellow card, and they've got a really interesting split for yellow cards. Now, I did mention at the start of the podcast that, because we kind of know what we're getting with Aston Villa at the moment, and that there's the peaks and the troughs are less and less. It's more of a steady high line, if you'll excuse the pun, that we see at the moment. But if you're talking in a graphical term, the line is high on the graph, but it's also a highlight, obviously, in the field as well. But it's a really interesting piece when you look at their yellow cards and their I suppose their aggression on the field. Throughout the course of the season, they have 29 yellow cards and 2 red cards. Now, 21 of those yellow cards and 1 of those red cards have come away from home. So that means at home, they've had 8 yellow cards and 1 red card only, in comparison to the massive, amount of stop the other team playing that they do when they are away from home. And that's fine. And I suppose if you were to look through an awful lot of teams, you might see that as a common denominator across the league for teams in the bottom 10. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because when you look at their at how they play, and when you look at their possession statistics, I'm just bringing it up here because I want to get the number right. They only, on average, have 39.1% possession. Now, last year, they were exactly the same, but they had Brennan Johnson on their team last season, who made a massive difference for them because of the goals they scored and so on. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I'm thinking that, if you've only 39.1% possession, Aston Villa have been averaging 52% possession in the league this season. And I think Villa are going to go out and have one of those games where, like against Luton, albeit not in the 70 percentage points, I think we could have a mid-60s possession in this game at the weekend. And I think that we could see a reversal of the 8 yellow cards to 1 red card type of performance from Nottingham Forest, because they're obviously aggressive. They're obviously able to put their foot in there, and I think that bodes well for Aston Villa, because, even if you look at our weird and wonderful set piece free kicks and stuff like that we have around the box, Aston McPhee's probably looking at this going, can I pull another John McGinn stunner out of it? Or can maybe a Douglas Luiz, can I work something in for Douglas Luiz? Or maybe even we see a Pau Torres at the back post job or something along those lines. So if all these interesting kind of subplots, I think that will play out in the game, and one of them will be Nottingham Forest's aggression, provided we can own the ball, which we've been trying to do an awful lot more this season.
Yeah, agree on all counts. Yeah, look, we will have the lion's share of possession regardless of what way you look at it, because it will be a case of them hitting us on the break. We will see a lot of touches in our half of the pitch and in around the middle third with our back four, specifically the two centre halves, Marshall and that, and trying to find a way through. Five at the back is going to be tough to break down. I think it could be a frustrating day, but I still think we should have enough to go and win this game by a couple of goals. But that's not me being cocky. That's me being happy with how we've started this season. And the league at this stage, with the amount of games that have been played, doesn't lie. We're fifth. They're fifth from bottom. So they've got to be treated that way, and I'm sure they're treating us that way.
Yeah, I think, and like, don't get me wrong, Steve. Like, once again, I'm gonna put it in there. There's a lot of good managers in the Premier League that don't have brilliant teams. I think that this is like Steve Cooper is a really good manager, but there are gaps within the team. Like, I think we should be able to get at our left back, Toffolo. I think we should be able to get at him. I think we should be able to get at Aria, at the right back as well. And once again, like, they've got lots of injuries again this season, specifically in attacking positions as well, that maybe they won't have the teeth to come off the bench like we will. And that's a point that's something we're going to discuss in a moment. You know, the what's going to be the perennial conversation of Zaniolo at start or come off the bench. But Nottingham Forest don't have that massive I suppose ability. Like, Chris Wood has been the guy who's kind of come on and been that different type of striker. Callum Hudson-Odoi, as we said previously, and so on and so forth. They're missing Brennan Johnson now. You know, it's that person to come off the bench now that their signings are injured is something that I think that Steve Cooper's really going to have to manage around. And it's going to be interesting to see what he does, because he's a good manager. He's a really good manager. He's always been a good manager. It's just sometimes the tea leaves fall correctly for a team, and even though they've bought like 30-40 players in the last, that's bonkers to say, but they've bought about 40 players in the last 2 seasons, they've never really had that element of luck to be able to get them all on the field at the same time and to be able to mold them over a concerted period of time. But then again, that's a planning point of view, and I don't really feel sorry for them for that point of view. But what I do feel sorry for them is for Steve Cooper, because he's well able to set up a team, and I think he's going to have his work cut out at the weekend to be able to set up a team based on the injuries that they have and the fact that they're only keeping 39% possession at the moment.
Yeah, and there's no reflection on Steve Cooper, who you said is a really, really good coach. I had the luxury of being in a couple of coaching seminars with him over the years. He speaks really, really well and is a really, really knowledgeable football guy. Just a question about Chris Wood, who you mentioned there. He didn't feature at all last weekend, and he's not listed in their injured players. Was he suspended?
No, he's injured.
He's injured, is he? He's not here in their list of injuries. That's why I asked.
As per who scored, anyway, it says that he's injured.
Okay, well, that's not bad.
If he isn't. Yeah, if he yeah. Exactly. So, and I'm actually just trying to pull up their full squad list here. I tell you something, their Wikipedia page is absolutely massive. But then again, their team sheet is massive. And the reason I wanted to do that is because for the life of me, I could not figure out or remember who their backup goalkeeper was. And I should have, because it's the Greek guy who should 100% be playing in goals for them. But I think Matt Turner was. Am I wrong in saying that, or am I just remembering back loads of weeks ago? It was Matt Turner in goals for them last week, or was I wrong on that one? Should have just.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Like Odysseus guy should definitely be in goals. Much better goalkeeper. I wonder what the story is there, because Matt Turner hasn't exactly been brilliant at all for Nottingham Forest.
Well, Matt Turner has the potential to be a decent goalkeeper. I've no idea what the I did actually see the Greek goalkeeper play a few weeks ago for Greece against Ireland, and he didn't concede, but he didn't have much to do either. But
yeah, I don't know what's going on with the goalkeepers. Does he think that Matt Turner is better with his feet? Maybe that could be a lot got to do with it.
Yeah, I think that must be it, because, as I say, it's one that's a bit baffling, because they spent like Odysseus was somebody that a lot of people wanted to get, and the reason I'm calling him that is because I can't pronounce his surname. So it's don't hate me for that one. But obviously coming from Benfica, there was a lot of teams that were interested. And then once again, just like Nicholas Dominguez ends up at Forest, raised eyebrows. This one raised a few eyebrows, and he hasn't really played. So it's a really interesting one to see what the story is there. And I know at Forest, they actually sacked their... I'm open to correction on this one again. They sacked their transfer guru person, and then they brought him back. And like, they sacked him for signing 24 or 27 or 29 players, whatever it was last season. And then they brought him back towards the middle of this transfer window just gone, because they needed to sign more players. And I at the time, I remember tweeting about it, saying that this isn't really fair on the football club or him or whatever is going on there. So it's an interesting one. And like, these players kind of came in at that stage, if I'm not mistaken, when he was brought back. So it's one of the weird and wonderful things at Forest. I really love the club from the point of view of the history and everything like that, but it's being run in a very different way to some other clubs at the moment. And it's just interesting because the turnover is huge within the club. And then when you see somebody like that coming in for decent money, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was actually like 9.3 million. I would have expected him to go for much more than that, but still, like, to bring in somebody for 9 million and not really starting when you've got Matt Turner on goals, to me just doesn't make much sense.
But as I said, it could be a case, and if you play five at the back week in, week out, it's very congested in there, and you need a goalkeeper who can think on his feet, literally think on his feet, and be good with the ball in play and not give it away. So that's from an outsider looking in without knowing what's going on. That's the only way I'd look at it.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Irish interest at the weekend, Paddy, within this game. Another person that they signed, the Nottingham Forest have signed and haven't given any game time to is Andrew Omobamidele as well. Somebody who should be playing football because he's good enough to play football in the Premier League. Once again, signed from Norwich, sitting there, not doing much. I know there are two centre halves, and Willy Bolly and Murillo have been pretty decent this season, but it's just a shame. I think he's on the bench and he's not really getting any game time for Nottingham Forest. So it's just wanted to bring him up because he's
wasn't even on the bench against Liverpool either. So it is a strange one. Just checking back to see if he played a game before.
Signed him for decent money, 11 or 12 million quid if I remember rightly. He's sitting on the bench. So
and a good player.
Very good player. Yeah. Very good player at the age of 21. Good ball playing the centre half. As I say, if Villa had 11 million, my propensity to sign an Irish centre half, like, Nathan Collins, Obamidele, they're both two very good up and coming young defenders, I think, from Ireland, and I would have signed him because I think that he's a ball playing centre half, and he certainly would have offered something as a third, fourth. He would have offered something more than Callum Chambers, I think, at times. Albeit he can't play right back, but interesting player for sure. And I'd love to snatch a Nottingham Forest fan and get their thoughts on those couple of players I've just mentioned there as to why were they brought in and why aren't they playing, I suppose, with 10 games gone. So maybe it could just be trying to bed them in, but who knows?
Not our problem at the moment. We can only be concerned about what's happening this weekend, albeit I'd love to see Andrew Omobamidele actually playing because it's better for the international team. But
absolutely,
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Zaniolo or Bailey to start, Paddy?
Bailey. Weren't expecting that, were you? You got to play the player on form. Player on form. Always play the player on form.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think I want to start. I would start Bailey there. I would certainly start Bailey. Yeah, for me as well. I'd start Bailey on the left though. I think we're both agreed on that we start Bailey on the left, bring McGinn back over into the right hand side, and I think it just offers a better balance. And the reason I say that is I know Zaniolo plays off the left and McGinn, that allows McGinn to play on the right. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's a false equivalency to say that it's Zaniolo or Bailey from that point of view. But maybe Unai wants to get McGinn over onto that right hand side, and it's just a more natural fit for Zaniolo to be there. But I would play Bailey on the left hand side, because I just like the last game they played on the left hand side. I thought he looked more complete. Then again, you play him on the left hand side, he won't be able to he won't be really overlapping with Diaby, because Diaby does it has been played more to the right hand side as well. So there's a lot of chess pieces, I think, and chess moves there from the thought process of Unai Emery. But it's going to be interesting. Yeah. But like you said there, I would be starting Bailey, play the foreign player, and let the cards fall where they may after that. Zaniolo could be just as good coming off the bench, with tired legs as well. We haven't really seen it a whole pile in the Premier League. He started quite a few of the more recent games, so maybe the role reversal there could have the same shot in the arm for Zaniolo as it has for Bailey as well. So I'm indifferent as to who starts, but it would be Bailey for me.
No, if it's a direct choice between the two, for me it's Bailey all day. You've got to play the player. And I think he is a form type player. If he's in form, you need to play him. He's the kind of player that his head could go down if he's sitting on the bench. I think Zaniolo is more than capable of coming off the bench and changing things up. A little bit of height, a little bit of physicality in there as well with the trickery. So it might seem like I'm contradicting myself here, but when the player is playing well, you have to acknowledge he's playing well and hope that he's in doing it week in, week out. And that's what we want from all our players. We don't want them to be flaky and in and out. We want them to be consistent, and this is the first consistency, the run of consistency we've got out of Leon Bailey. So he needs to keep playing.
Yeah, I agree. Our watched Unai Emery take it completely out of our hands and play three at the back with Cash and Dina, high fullbacks, and then a midfield three, Kamara, Luis, and McGinn with Diaby behind Watkins, and then we don't have to worry about it at all, because that's always the hovering spectre at the back of the room, because we've done it a couple of times this season. And I think he favours it more than we think. I think he favours that more than we think, albeit it would be a horses for courses type situation. And maybe it's not one that we would do away from home in this game. It was interesting that we did against Burnley this season, but was it Burnley and Everton we did it this season? But it's an interesting one, and we haven't seen the last of it. Put it that way, we certainly haven't seen the last of that formation, I don't think. And hey, when Tyrone Mings comes back, I think maybe it might even be the staple formation for this back. For something falls off behind me. It might even be the staple formation for us, but we'll worry about that when that happens, because being able to have that fluidity to switch between formations is suiting me just fine at the moment, considering we're getting wins out of it. Anything else, Paddy?
Shout out to Omari Kellyman, who's signed a new contract. Delighted for the kid. I think there's definitely a huge potential in the player there. We might see him go out on loan before he makes an impact on this team, but it's great to see that he's obviously really bought into the system that, or the mindset that Unai Emery has brought to the club. So I'm delighted for him. I'm looking forward to seeing him get more and more games and hopefully making an impact.
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know why, but I was following his mum, or I think it was his mum, some female relation of his on Twitter. I didn't even know
it is his mum. I was following her too.
Yeah. And I love to see it. I love to see she was absolutely over the moon, as we all would be, if any of our offspring were after signing a professional contract. Yeah, so absolutely excellent. Ethan Woodward asks, Paddy, thoughts on European Cup moved into the tunnel? I for one love it.
Well, it's an extra level of intimidation, I suppose, when you're standing there in the tunnel, which they generally do for 2 or 3 minutes, and you're standing there looking at the European Cup, and you realise how much of a big club you're dealing with here. it's just a nice little reminder going out on the pitch that, you know, this is where we need on our side. This is where we're trying to get back to, if not competing for the European Cup, at least trying to get into the Champions League so we can do it. So it's a reminder to both sides. One, to frighten them, you know, that we are a big club. The fans are going to make noise, hopefully, and on our side, that's what we're striving for. So it's good. It looks a bit awkward in the middle of the tunnel, I have to say, separating the players, but it's a big wide tunnel, so there's plenty of room. But yeah, I was actually a little bit teary-eyed looking at it the weekend because I could see it from both sides. To why it's there, I didn't know whether it was a one-off or whether it was done every week. But yeah, it's just a little bit of added incentive for us and a scary one for them. That's the way I see it.
Breaking news, Alan Healy says that Sky Sports News are reporting that Unai Emery is a big Limp Bizkit fan as Villa keep rolling. For anybody who missed the start of the podcast, you're going to be completely lost with that one. You're going to be completely lost. And John Steele says, going back to the Emery to United talk, he says Emery leaving a project where he's been given full control to take over the circus at United would be like Margot Robbie leaving her husband to go out with me. And that's to go out with John Steele because she definitely leave her husband to go out with me because we just know we know that's what's going to happen at some stage, isn't it? Yeah, but no, thanks a million, lads, for all the comments as well today, and for everybody as well that popped in a comment today. But it's like as I say, this game coming up the weekend is going to be a real interesting one. It's you know, the as I said, the two passes out of the tube with regards to Aston Villa now, and I think we've all known that it was going to happen at some stage. And some people were like, "Let's go under the radar," and other people were like, "No, let's get out front and center and let's embrace it." And I've always been of the point of view of, well, look, as a fan base, let's embrace it. I couldn't care less what anybody else says about us, but you know, some players will rise to the occasion, and I think this is the first game, really, whereby it's been a week of non-stop Unai Emery talk and Aston Villa talk. This week, so go out there and enjoy themselves as players and see what they can do against this Nottingham Forest team. And I'm going to give my prediction in this one, even though I normally give one, but you normally wait to the team sheet tantrum. I think we might see another 3-1 for Villa again. I just think it's there's goals in this team, there's movement in this team, there's a mentality within this team, and there's a fluency within this team, and you know, if we can hold on to that possession like we have been doing in games, and Forest do revert to, I suppose, maybe being more of a team that's chasing us around the field, I think we can open up spots within there. And I also fancy Watkins against our two centre halves, who we haven't mentioned at all. So I'm going to go with 3-1 in this. Not being overly cocky or confident with regards to that. I'm just going on it based on the performances I've seen from both teams over the last couple of weeks. And but I know that it's going to be a proper game of football as well, and that there are obviously the hurdles that Aston Villa as a team will have to get over from the mental point of view after the week that we've just had.
Yeah, I'd take a 3-1. I'd absolutely take a 3-1. I know everybody wants a clean sheet, and I think Emi Martinez is very disappointed that he didn't get a clean sheet at the weekend. It's fine as long as we're winning by 2 clear goals. I'm absolutely fine with it. We do have to put up with Jared Gillett this weekend, if that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Absolute shit show of a referee. I'm really not looking forward to it. So I don't know yet whether I'm going to get on the team sheet tantrum on Sunday because of the fact that I'm going to a wedding and I'm going to be majorly hungover. But we'll see closer to the time. But I would definitely take a 3-1, and I just don't want Jared Gillett to be involved at any level of our game. So he's in the middle. You know, when we've got, I can't remember, there's a decent enough referee and fourth official. I just don't get it.
Cook.
Why we have... Pardon?
It was a Cook, I think, was it?
No, it's one of the bigger ones. Was what's Paul Tierney? Paul Tierney fourth official.
Paul Tierney, yeah. Paul Tierney.
And the other perennial VAR, what's his name?
Atwell.
Atwell is VAR.
Yeah. So I have it here: Jared Gillett, Darren Cann, Derek Eaton are the 2 assistants, with Paul Tierney, fourth official, Atwell on VAR, and assistant VAR is Lee Betts. So, yeah, that's who we have to deal with.
He's the lad making the tea.
Yeah, he's the lad that's going to tell the VAR, "Oh my God, you're after making a mistake. You're after making a mistake." That's what his job is to do. Anyway, we'd be here for another 48 minutes in that one, guys.
Yeah.
And lads and ladies, or of whatever denomination that you are out there, we're going to have to leave it at that one. I just looked at the clock; it's 48 minutes for the podcast, which is great, and we talk forever. But it's also coming up to 10:30, and I got to run at 10:30. So I really appreciate everybody's time as always. Thank you so much for all the comments, and thank you so much for the wonderful super chats earlier on as well. Really, really appreciate it. Absolutely. I hope you all enjoyed it. We will be back again as Paddy. Well, I'll be back. I don't know, will Paddy be back for the Team Sheet Tantrum on Sunday at 12:50 Irish and UK time. So please join us for that, and we will be here with a post-match podcast as well, directly on the final whistle. So we'd be delighted if you could join us then as well. Aston Villa do have a huge game at the weekend to solidify that top 5 place. With the way the fixtures are at the moment, Aston Villa obviously playing against Forest. Hopefully a win there will put us will solidify us in that 5th place going into the international break. So really, really big game for Villa, and I hope you'll join us for the Team Sheet Tantrum and the post-match podcast afterwards as well. Right, Paddy, anything else before we say?
No, all good. Yeah. Hit the like button before you all go.
Do hit the like button, please. Yeah, that would be very, very good. And until next time, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.